After an extended stay in the US, the series has hopped over the Pacific to Suzuka. A tightening championship thanks to Sanchez's third win means we're set up for what could be a decisive moment in the season. Will Togo deliver on home ground? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 9 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Bobbert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. It has become perhaps the most iconic track in Japan. Suzuka's figure 8 layout and challenging swath of corners will force drivers to bring out their best. Let's take a closer look with our track guide. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, Joey, it may have begun life as a test track, but it's certainly turned into a genuine racing course.
And I think it's loved by pretty much everybody who turns laps here. Suzuka International Racing Course, 17 turns, just a tick over 3.6 miles in length, and known as a very technical racetrack. A few big passing opportunities, but really this racetrack has every single type of corner you can imagine, from tight hairpins to S sections to sweeping fast corners such as 130R to decreasing radius turns that you got to slow down for, such as turns 1 and 2. And one thing's for sure, it's a narrow racetrack, so if you're going to be making passes here, you got to kind of make sure to set it up properly, make sure you got room on the inside, and execute it with hard on the brakes most likely. And I think no matter what, Joe, it's going to provide some good racing today.
Yeah, it always tends to put on a pretty good show out here. Now, if we take a look at the championship, Togo Hisada comes in for the home fans, leading the points, but not by much. As I mentioned last round, Sanchez took the victory and has cut it back down to 9 points once again. Those two have been pretty much neck and neck for much of the season now. Jorge Nieva has been unable to keep pace in that realm, as he is about 51 points behind with Salgado actually not too far behind him. And then Gary Ho, just a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump away as well. So it's mostly a battle for third down there between the rest of the field with Kemp, Clapper, Maudsley, and Becker, all still within range that it could swap around. But they have an amateur championship called the F2 driver standings.
Steve Maurice right now is currently in the lead, but it's actually closed down just a little bit. Bjorn Ackerman now only 11 points behind. You see a little bit of a gap before the battle for third place between Jonathan Jordan and Kurt Clapper. Only 6 points separate them. And then Jan Stevens kind of a little bit of no man land there inside the top 5, but then once again it closes back up. Only about 8 points separating the 3 drivers in 6th, 7th, and 8th. I know Cam Porter is a regular, as well as a few of these other names. Going to have to watch and see which one of these drivers can leapfrog up their way in the standings.
They also have the Nations Cup. Now, despite it being a Japanese driver at the top of the points, the next two down are Spanish. So Spain is leading the way. They have been for pretty much the entire season, as they've had a number of drivers really come to the forefront this time around. The United States trailing behind in third, sees themselves a little bit lonely with not much room, or not very close up to Japan, but also not very close to the UK behind them. Australia also a bit of a distance back there in fifth. From there, things start to tighten up with Germany and Singapore a mere 9 points apart from each other. And then, of course, it really jumps back down to 8th, 9th, and 10th with Norway, Canada, and the Netherlands. Let's talk about today's race, though. Joey, what are they up against?
Round 9 of 12 in the championship, about 3/4 of the way through this season. 17 laps around this technical racetrack. You're going to have to be on top of it every single lap. And as it is here in the Lotus 49 series, it is open setups. Go join the community, join the forums. They like to get everybody up to speed and share the setups over there. No spare cars, so if you pick up any damage, you're going to have to live with it. Make sure to stay clean, and a drive-through penalty at 17x, disqualification at 25x. Joe, there are some areas that you can run off track here, pick up the incidents, but like we always talk about with these cars, it's more about not tangling your wheels with another competitor.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the big focus, no doubt. And plus, it's such a high-speed track in some places. I have a feeling that if things are going to go wrong and you're off course, they're going to go wrong in a big way. But Seb Tixier, who has kind of taken to fighting from the front to fighting from the back, he's elected to not qualify most times, is out there right now. We'll see if he actually sets a lap or if he's going to pull it over by the time he gets to that start-finish line. This is through the S's, through the Snake, which will take you down to Dunlop, one of those high-speed portions where there is not a lot of runoff before eventually he gets to the Degners. And in honor of Mick Claridge having his charity races today, he has apparently adorned himself with what looks like a cutout on his VR headset.
This is the best thing I have seen yet this morning. I know that Seb Tixier always likes to have fun, always does something amusing with his POV camera, and not disappointing today.
I had no idea that he was doing this until just right now. So Rob has surprised us. This is glorious. He's placed this so perfectly.
It's so good. And I mean, just how the angle of it, the facial expression with the helmet on, it's perfect.
I love this. Okay, so for those that didn't know, we're holding some charity races to help fund Mick's ride around the world right after this race, actually. So stay tuned after this is over, and we're helping raise money to get him back on the road. He had a setback. His equipment was stolen. He literally had to fly back home with only what he had on his back and his pockets, and nothing else. As coming through the final chicane, Seb Tixier looks like he actually might be setting a lap here, unless he had an off intentionally a little bit earlier. Nope, that one's not going to count. And so I suspect he is indeed taking the off track somewhere.
I have to applaud drivers like Seb Tixier, because that is a second account that he's building his iRating for. And I can't even get my first account up to the iRating standard. Like, I would love to have that skill. Yeah,
exactly. So he's coming back through and using what they call a Smurf account to try and rebuild that iRating. Also come from the back quite a bit, since if he doesn't set a time, it's going to put his position according to iRating with everybody else who didn't. And that means he is going to be pretty far down. But Togo Hisada has the provisional pole over Langtoft here. Carl Christian Langtoft, not a name I am familiar with, I have to confess, but he looks to be pretty fast. And he's on his second flyer around, but it does not count.
I think the biggest difference between these cars and the cars we're used to seeing, the modern cars, is the downforce level, and you just saw it right there. We're going to be watching cars step out all race long. These drivers are going to have their hands full with catching the oversteer moments.
Sada caught it, but unfortunately he also had an off track somewhere, so he doesn't improve. Sanchez goes up to second, and it is tight. It is 200ths of a second between P1 and P2. Nieva puts himself into fourth, and he's had both of his laps. So the question now is, with 1 minute left, is there anybody else that's going to join them at the front row?
I think the one that I've got my eye on, and he actually just came skidding to a halt, is Jack David Spickett, but I know that he's more in the, Seb Tixier going for a massive Ken Block drift through 130R and grab another gear and finish the lap.
Yep, I think, I'm pretty sure that was intentional. I think he's having fun out there. Yeah. As, Ben Zocco is finishing up his as well. Should have enough time to cross the line. 2:02.6, big improvement for Ben. He goes from 21st to 12th. He needed that one.
Yeah, and the other ones I'm looking at, Andrew Eng's not putting down a time anymore. He's in that F2 championship, so going to have to come from the back, and I think that's really going to do it.
Yes, nobody else able to set a time from here, so Hisada gets the pole on home soil. Xavier Sanchez going to try and deny him a victory, though, as he'll start next to him. Carl Christian Langtoft will be in third, followed by Nacho Gaspar, who starts in fourth. He's been quick, so he could be a serious threat. Jorge Nieva starts P5, as six goes to Ove Trangrade. Row 4 will see Bill Tyler and Laust Olsen, and then finally in row 5, it'll be Glenn Becker, flanked by John Olsen.
In 11th spot, we have Steve Morris, and then followed up with Ben Zocco. Yon Rodriguez in 13th, with David Rossi in 14th. Gary Ho in the 15th place position. Kyle Ridley next to him in 16th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado in the 17th spot. Matthew Maudsley, 18th, and Bjorn Ackerman and Michael Grissinger sharing row number 10.
Neil Kemp starts 21st, followed by Robert Plumley in 22nd. Thomas Tuba put himself P23. Cam Porter, a little farther down than we've seen from him lately, 24th on qualifying. Terry Traumhauser in the 25th spot is then followed by Sandeep Banerjee in 26. I haven't seen his name in a long, long time. Christo Chinmay will start 27th, followed by Andre Bruno in 28th. You've got Ryan Freeman, 29th, and Derek Matthew rounding out the top 30.
Jonathan Jordan, another F2 points championship contender, all the way back in 31st. Jack David Spickett in 32nd. Seamus Power, 33rd. Jason Clapper, 34th. Shinsuke Tashima in 35th. Kirk Clapper, Carlos Tortosa, Andrew Eng, Shady Ahmad in 39th, and Isan Jin in 40th. Just a few more back here. Seb Tixier, Johnny Bell, and Mats Linden for 43 cars.
Yep, and they're just about out of time to grid up, so we're almost ready to go here early in the morning. So it is only 72 Fahrenheit on the track itself, 22 Celsius for the metrics. As it looks like the lights are now coming up, the engine's starting to rev for round 9 in the GPL series, and the green flag is out off the line. It's a horrible start for third. That's Langtoft. Did not get the power down smoothly, and now he's being swamped as they come down into turn 1 single file for the top 4, but it's getting a little bit crowded behind him. Carl's going to be able to make it through the first corner. 3 wide behind, somebody spins and has a massive wreck.
Yeah, looks like 2 cars maybe got some damage through turns 1 and 2, and now the track really starts to narrow down. Turn 3, 4, 5, 6 through the S section known as the Snake.
Looks like that was Derek Matthews who had the spin. Jason Clapper, Andre Bruno also getting involved in what looks like a separate incident. And now I see Banerjee unfortunately falling down the order, but pretty much single file for the rest of the field here as they head up towards the Degners. Very scary double flick to the right-hand side. Let's see if anybody falls afoul of it.
Actually downhill here as well. One of the only elevation changes. Oh, we got a couple cars off right in front of Jack David Spickett. I see Terry Traumhauser and Cam Porter around in Degner 1.
Thankfully, everybody's very heads up. He was right across the racing line, was Terry, and he's able to back it up out of the way. Back up to the front here. Hisada still leads Sanchez. Gaspar up 1 position and onto the podium. Langtoft stopped the bleeding in 4th.
This Nacho Gaspar character has come in the last few weeks and certainly put his name on the board and continues to perform with speed on the opening lap here. Moved up 1 position and hanging on to the lead pack.
Yeah, think about how he did back at Willow Springs. I would not put anything against him here, as Gaspar is probably going to be a serious problem for these drivers if he can get his pace up, because right now he's about 1 second back but I don't think that's anything you should scoff at right now. As we're watching from Carl here in the number 17, he did fall down back to fourth, but it looks like he's recovered, and he's trying to put some pressure on that number 1.
Oh, and a couple cars around, I think I saw Bjorn Ackerman entering the Casio triangle backwards. Usually want the front of the car steering the direction. He's going to take a trip down pit road, and he's one of the F2 points championship contenders as well. A big points day for these F2 guys.
I think that was Maudsley we saw slow coming out of the chicane as well, but this is going to give an opportunity to Seamus Power, who's trying to attack, and they just had an accident as we came to the replay. So there's the initial spin. So that is the 39 car that we saw slow down in the runoff, sort of an alternate pit entry that you have over there.
He was able to keep it on the racetrack at least, and then like you were mentioning, I believe it was Maudsley also having some troubles through that Casio triangle as well, but lost a ton of track position. With this many cars, I mean, the F2 championship, it's getting pretty close, Joe. Only a few rounds left. I would think you want to limit the mistakes.
Well, not only that, you have to consider this many cars, there's going to be more F1 drivers. So the points on hand, because they're all fighting for the same points, even though it's different championships, those F2 guys are only going to be squabbling for scraps this time. And they're going to have to fight hard to really try and gain on their rivals as we watch Laust Olsen, who sits in 7th right now. Not many people close in front of him, but behind him, Bill Tyler is hot on his heels.
Go through the spoon curve.
There's a spinner in front of him.
That was Gaspar.
Oh, wow. A rare mistake from the number 1. He gets back onto the track, though, and he's trying to see if he can put a move on John Olsen now that he's returned to the circuit. Looks down to the inside into 130R. This is usually not a place you want to try and go too wide. John's going to give up the ghost.
You just got to be careful. John Olsen's going to try to over-under. He's already got a fantastic run. Decides to lift off going into the Casio triangle. Maybe he's going to follow Nacho Gaspar, try to pick up some tips and some speed from that number 1 car. But this all happened in the spoon curve here, Joe, one of the most technical turns on the racetrack.
I always found it to be surprisingly difficult because it's this long, wide curve, but that double apex and the tricky entry does really throw you for a loop. Let's see if it catches out Nacho. Does he just go in too hot?
I think combine that with over the curb, Joe, and you could also be going down a gear there, so don't forget about a downshift disrupting that. But you were talking about how tricky it is going in. You got to remember, the last half of the corner, it falls off. It's away from you, banked the other way as well.
Also, Glenn Becker and Kyle Ridley just had a mistake down through 1 and 2. They came together, and I think it was Kyle Ridley who got the worst of it. He's back on course in 22nd. It has been a frantic first 3 laps with a lot of drivers getting in with each other. Like you said, just the way these tires stick so far out from the body, it can be tough.
This right here is the battle that I've been watching because I really feel like Trengrade has some more pace than the car in front of him, which is Jorge Nieva. And he's been looking for a way around, but Nieva's been doing a great job just staying consistent. And honestly, Joe, where I've noticed he's been getting a fantastic run is out of spoon curve right here, and he's showed the nose into 130R a couple times, but like you said, not usually a popular place to pass.
And Trengrade's not in the championship hunt, while Nieva is a little far behind from his 2 rivals in front of him. Probably doesn't want to be giving up any more points than he needs to at least try and clinch that 3rd place. So he's going to have to try and play defense on Trengrade. 4th place rather than 3rd, excuse me, that he's fighting for to bring this one home as they come down into the triangle. A lot of sliding there for Nieva, and now it looks like Trengrade is climbing all over that gearbox.
But the power down coming out of the final turn. See if you can get in the slipstream. This front straightaway is long enough, not quite close enough to go late on the brakes into turn 1. This turn 1 and 2 complex is really tricky. We talk about spoon being that double apex. Well, turn 1 and 2 is actually very similar, and you carry even more speed into it.
Yeah, I've messed that up more times than I can count, honestly. But down through the snake. Oh, did Neil Kemp have something happen here? Got a picture of nothing on the track for a moment, and then he's in the pit lane. I assume he's had a massive run-in with something or someone. So this is coming into turn 1. This will probably be a good illustration of just how tough it is here.
I was noticing doing almost 180 miles an hour in these cars. Oh, yeah, just...
Oh, wow.
It goes to show you missed your braking marker by, 10 yards, 20 yards, and the amount of speed you're carrying, there's no way you can get the car stopped.
I mean, it's like he didn't even try for that first corner. By the time he made it to there, the car just was gone, and he was in the sand trap and hits the wall, tumbling over and over. So he is now going to be a DNF, or at least many laps down, if he's able to repair it in time before this is over. Back to Rodriguez, who sits in 11th. Haven't talked about him much. He's up 2 positions. Right now, he's trying to chase down Benzoko to crack into the top 10, but he's also got a train of cars behind him being led by Steve Morris. Salgado, Ho, and Rossi are in there as well.
The hungry pack. And I feel like if you slip up just a little bit, that pack, I mean, what is this? Almost 10 cars lined up here. They're going to be lined up waiting to get by you when that door gets open. And here at Suzuka, I think that there's plenty of opportunities, including 130R. We haven't talked about it too much. We're used to 130R just being this fast, flat-out corner. I'm seeing these cars physically have to get on the brakes. They're doing about 175 going into it, but only about 135 through 130R. So it is very much a corner with these cars.
Oh, very much so, yeah. But you have to consider 135-mile-an-hour corner with no downforce. So, yeah, they are still flying through there, and you do not want to try and go side by side as we once again head through turns 1 and 2. And you can see this train of cars in front of, I believe this is Glenn Becker that we're watching on board with. Just behind Jack David Spickett. It is a veritable army of Lotus 49s that he's trailing.
I always recognize this one. I'm a huge aviation nerd. I mention it every time. I love the air show T-shirt and the scheme that looks like the Pitts S2 airplane out there. Glenn Becker, always kind of fighting forward right now in 18th spot, trying to get up on this battle. But Joe, this is such a technical racetrack. What do you do in this position when you're just kind of the caboose on the train, but you feel like you're faster?
I suspect that passing is probably going to be at a premium. They won't have the aero wake that a lot of modern cars do, but even still, you can see they're having a tough time. And let's not forget, Glenn had a mistake earlier on. He's down 9 from where he started. Oh, speaking of a mistake, Langtoft is off. The number 17 flies off in Spoon. I think he may have actually found the wall. He falls to 9th, going to promote Nieva back up on the podium.
Yo, this is a mistake going into Spoon Curve. We usually see it a little bit later. I wonder if this is from a downshift.
Yeah, he wasn't.
I think it was. If you notice, he's grabbing 2 gears on the down, and if you watch the rev, as soon as that downshift goes, that's when the back end steps out. You can watch the tachometer right here, right through the steering wheel.
Yeah, and he wasn't anywhere near the grass, so definitely wasn't that. So watching, good catch, very good eye on that one. You can see it go through the gears twice, and unfortunately that was just too much, too quick. The car would not accept it. Around it goes. Remember, all analog here. There's nothing to help you try and salvage that, nothing to stop those gears, as Bill Tyler here is promoted into 7th because of that mistake. So he comes actually from exactly 7th on the grid. I was just about to see where he had, how many positions he had gained. The answer is none, but he is chasing on Nacho Gaspar, which is going to be difficult. Nacho probably has been slowly picking his way back forward, considering he's also had a mistake in the same corner.
He has been. If you remember, he popped out from his spin behind John Olsen, so he got by John quickly. Oh! Problems. Bill Tyler, that was out of Degner number 2, which you usually use up a lot of that exit curb. Looks like, unfortunately, it caught him out.
Wow, so that sends him immediately to pit lane. He hit the wall hard. Let's watch from on board, see what it looks like for him. So here's into the first Degner. Just want to clip that apex. Boy, he takes a lot of curb, but it looks like the car handles it well. And then the second one, once again, really eating up that inside curb. But the outside one, I think, is what tripped him up. and then it just spits him straight into the Armco.
It's silly to think, you're trying to accelerate in a straight line, and why does the car kind of ditch off to the side like that? Well, if you think about a drag racer, what happens if it doesn't launch on equal ground? Well, it ain't going to go straight. Same situation here.
That's a good point. Meanwhile, Ove Trangrade and Nieva now know that they are fighting to spray the champagne. So Trangrade going to be even more motivated now to catch up to Jorge Nieva and pass him. He's caught up, but now he's got to do the second part of the equation. There are 7 laps in, so still plenty left to go.
Balance the car through turn 1. It seems like Uwe just really nice and tidy through corner entry. It seems like he can control the front end of the car a little bit more confidently than Jorge Nieva can in front of him. And because of that, he's able to just stick right on the gearbox, place his car wherever he wants it to.
And they got to be careful because you can see in the background, Laust Olsen is close, but also Nacho Gaspar is catching up to them. So this could become very intense if they go side by side for too long and start to give up time on the track. So Ove's going to have to be smart. I know he loves to battle, but if he doesn't want this to become a melee of cars out here, he's going to have to make a decisive move.
I was curious what Nacho Gaspar is going to do the rest of the race as we still ride on board with Trangrade here. Because his spin, it didn't place him too far back in terms of track position. Like we're seeing, he very much can still go up there and spray some champagne today.
Indeed. Oh, and John Olsen's had a problem with the hairpin. He's off track. He'll return to the circuit right in the thick of traffic. That was Steve Morris who just jumped in front of him. Thankfully, they did not make contact, and John returns in 11th. Steve promoted into the top 10. By the way, we're not missing anything at the very front. Hesada leads Sanchez by about 1.7 seconds, so there's not really much of a battle happening there right now. Meanwhile, out of Spoon Curve, this exit onto the backstretch is going to be very important for Olsen, but it doesn't look like he gets the launch he needs.
And it is tricky because 130R, it's not a huge passing opportunity. I guess it is more in these cars, but it's not a big-time brake zone, so you really have to maximize the run out of Spoon if you're trying to think about a pass, because I think it's going to be more about the over-under the run through 130R down into the Casio Triangle.
Under braking down in turn 1, Nieva still dealing with the pressure from Ove Trangrade. Behind them, it does look like that battle is closing up between Nacho and Laust, so having 2 pairs here kind of sync up for about the middle part of the race at the moment. Don't quite have that situation at the front, as I mentioned, but I will say that Sanchez is keeping the pressure on Hesada, not allowing him to run away, making sure that he can't make any mistakes. If that tightens up, we'll jump over there immediately. But look at this. Nacho, I have to say, doing an excellent job making up for the mistake that he made earlier.
Agreed. And I'm always a fan of the mind games. How do you get the performance on the racetrack? And Joe, I got to ask you a question. If you were in Laust Olsen's position right here, you're already having a great race. You're up 3 positions inside of a top 5. You see the battle right in front of you. You've got very similar pace. Do you let Nacho Gaspar by knowing that he's going to catch him and eventually cause a battle in front that you can close up? Or do you battle him for this top 5?
I think because of the type of driver I am, with this much race left to go, I'd let him go if he got a run on me. I wouldn't give it over to him. I'd still run my own pace, run my own line, but if he got a run on me, I think I'd let him go and just try to follow him up to those guys.
I think that's a good call, and what you said was the key point, is run your race, because you don't want to give up any time to that battle. You want him to pass you and take you up to that battle, and I think Laust Olsen's going to do exactly that. Ove Trangrade right on the back of Nieva, though. See if he can look down into the triangle. Going to be on the wrong side of the track, though.
Yep, and that was a good move there from Jorge, just covering him off, denying that inside line down to the chicane, keeping him from getting the move that he needs to try and overtake, and it was a poor exit by the Norwegian, so he falls back now behind them. Does look like it's getting a little close between Nacho and Laust once again, but doesn't even poke his nose out, and they're all 4 going to stay single file.
what's the old saying? You know, catching somebody and passing them is two totally different things. Actually, Laust had a little bit of a poor run coming up out of turn 2, side by side between Gaspar and him. Looks like Nacho's going to reclaim that 5th place position after the earlier mistake, and that was just a poor run coming out of turn number 2 for Laust, and eventually he just realized he had to give up that spot.
Yeah, it looked like he took it in a little hot there and was way wide, so Nacho gets 1. Now he's got to catch up to Trangrade and Nieva. Let's see if he'll bring Laust with him, or if the Norwegian can't hang here, as we have officially now passed the halfway point of this race. A little wide there in the background for Ove Trangrade as they came off of Degner 2, cost him more precious tenths.
As this battle still continues on, my ADD brain over here is scanning timing and scoring, and the last few laps from Toga Hosada have been on fire. I mean, he's taken a 1.5 second gap over Xavier Sanchez to 3.5 seconds in just the span of a couple laps.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's up to 3.6 now, so turning on the afterburners, or maybe this car just likes the end of the race a little bit better. Remember, they don't do any pit stops, or at least scheduled pit stops in this series, so you have to put all your fuel on. You have to make sure the tire pressures are going to like it when it's light and when it's heavy, and it sure seems to like when it's light.
And remember last week when we talked with Toga Hosada after the race, he mentioned Suzuka, the home track. He has to win here. I know he was going to put in some practice time, and, well, it looks like that practice time is paying off.
Ooh, did Sanchez just make a mistake? It's gone up to 6.7 just now. I'm checking. Oh, yeah. Actually, a major mistake. He's hit the wall. We need a replay of the number 5 into the Casio triangle, because unfortunately, he may have it worse than just losing time. He might find himself limping. Here it is. A lot of curve on the inside of the 130R corner, but what happened there?
I wonder if it was just still loose coming out of 130R, like he hadn't caught the save completely.
Can we watch from above maybe? Did he touch the grass or something?
I mean, he's all over the entry curb.
Oh, did he clip the grass? No?
Joe, I think he was still in a slide. I think he was still in a power slide, and by the time he went to try to do the next thing on his list to do to get ready for the Casio triangle, it was still out of shape.
Well, unfortunately, that has cost him a chance at trying for the win. He's still in second place, so he's not out of it, but he essentially needs Hosada to have his own moment now, I believe. And he has to hope that Trangrade behind him. Actually, did we miss the pass, or did we see?
So it happened the exact same time that Sanchez hit the wall is coming out of the Casio triangle. I can report that Nieva just didn't get the best run. It was a drag race down the front straightaway, and ultimately Trangrade was able to outbrake him going into turn 1.
It all happens at once, never fails. And what this means is Gaspar is now 0.6 of a second behind Jorge, so it is a train of 3. And we're coming down to the last stages of the race. Where will this lead us as they all break into the triangle once again? And Jorge trying to stick with Ove while also having to play defense once more.
I'm curious in these pack of 3, because remember, Trangrade was the one being held up by Nieva, so you got to think that he's out there setting his pace, trying to chase down Sanchez. Wonder if Nacho Gaspar is going to be able to condense the battle back up and catch him. Oh no, problems with Glenn Becker. This was one of the cars that we were riding on board with earlier. This looks going down into the chicane, into the Casio triangle.
Oh boy, it has been a miserable day for that number 20 car. So as he comes through 130R, looking kind of similar. No, he gets a hold of it. And then looks like under braking, maybe either touched the grass or just was a little hot. Tried to avoid other cars, maybe got a piece of somebody there, but wound up parked at the side of the track.
Could have been worse than what it was. So yeah, not necessarily the day that Glenn Becker wants, but can still go out there and turn some laps as we still get this battle. Trangrade, Nieva, Gaspar for third, fourth, and fifth.
Glenn will just have to go to the amusement park afterwards to cheer himself up. So He'll, he'll have chances to go have some fun later, maybe. Meanwhile, train grade, like you mentioned, ahead of Nieva and Gaspar, all in this little train down into Spoon Curve. Now, this is already caught up a couple very good drivers, but all three of them are going to be able to navigate it successfully this time. But who gets the launch off of it and down the back stretch? It looks like train grade may be the best of the three.
Into 130R, all the way down to 120 miles an hour, I'm seeing from our leader as they go through that fast, sweeping left-hander, hard on the brakes into the Casio triangle, and it really is all about putting the power down coming out. You see all of them using as much curb as they can really take. These cars a little bit more all right with the curbs than some of the new stuff. You see the suspension moving quite a bit, working.
And while it might look like they're fair ways behind Togo Hisada, they're only actually 12 seconds behind, so about a second a lap faster for Togo. That is pretty decently fast, but that's along with these cars battling. So I think they've been keeping pretty good pace today, all things considered.
I think the most interesting thing here, obviously Nacho Gaspar is putting some immense pressure on Jorge Nieva now. I think that's really started to condense, but this battle, once Trengrade got out front and Sanchez has had his issue, we're actually chasing down Xavier Sanchez only about 3 seconds back.
I do suspect that number 5 has some sort of damage. I need to check his lap times. They're looking, about a second slower, it looks like, compared to what he was running before his incident. So I wonder if he's wounded. Just needs to survive, I think, to the finish. 3 seconds to try and keep ahead of him. It's going to be tough, but I think it will be possible. It's a big slide coming through the corner, including for Nieva. That's going to allow Gaspar to get through, but he's on the wrong side of it here through 200R. It's going to be difficult, but he will have the inside into Spoon.
You think that pass is just automatically done, but in these cars, the grip level just isn't there. You still have to drive it through these sweeping corners, but Nacho Gaspar ends up getting the throttle down, getting around Jorge Nieva coming out of the hairpin. Now, the next victim up on the list, Ove Trengrade.
Unfortunately, not all the Japanese drivers having fun today. Shunsuke Tashima, unfortunately, had a spin. Don't need to go to it. And that was down at the hairpin. He falls to 21st from that one. As we come into the Casio Triangle once again, Gaspar now back up to 4th. That's actually where he started this race. Can he go any higher than this? Can he pass the Norwegian?
I think he's got the speed for it, and as we see a damaged car just kind of in the middle of it, we haven't seen much of that today, and as the race is winding down, I suspect lap traffic might become more of a factor.
It has become a factor for Hisada. He's already had to overtake a number of cars here, but he's been managing it well. He's about 10 seconds ahead of Sanchez. Whoa, and we got a car off course. This is Langtoft. Oh, no. He was actually doing a pretty good job recovering himself, but it's all for naught in the end.
You had mentioned you hadn't seen Langtoft in the series in a little while, and he had shown some extremely good pace, qualifying way up there as we go down into turn 1. Oh, yeah, just too deep on the brakes and ends up choosing the gravel instead of trying to hit the competitor. I got to give a tip of the cap to him for avoiding the accident.
I don't see him on our stat sheet, but that doesn't have starts. So not sure if he has been here and I just missed him or don't remember him. But whatever the case, it doesn't look like he's going to be adding to his stats today, at least, as Gaspar still hugging the back of Ove Trengrade is down to just a handful of laps to go. He can easily run out of opportunities. And plus, he's got to think about a second place could be on the cards. Like we said, Sanchez is up ahead of them. We believe that he is limping home.
And they are bringing it down slowly but surely. It's been about fluctuating between 0.3, maybe half a second per lap, and he's still right there at about 3 seconds. And the other thing we got to consider with Gaspar and Trengrade going to fight here, it's probably going to hold station while they do that. So I think Sanchez, he might have been tossed a life jacket just in time.
We'll see if that's how it winds up being. it looks like Gaspar falls off the back of Trangrade a little bit. If I know Ove, I think he is absolutely turning it up. He does not want to lose this third spot and is trying to hold Nacho behind him. So whatever he had left in the tank, he's using up every last inch of it now as they come around through 1 and 2 and back into the snake. Once again, Nieva could not hang. John Olsen, though, hanging on as they go side by side with Rodriguez. Rodriguez way too wide, but he uses that paved runoff to his advantage to at least keep it pointed forward. But does he have enough to stay side by side? That's going to be a no.
Yeah, just ran out of track at turn 2. You called it. Turn 1 was able to use up a little bit extra, but it's all grass out there at the exit of 2. And this is Seb Tixier in the number 36 car. A little bit of damage on the front end, but this is our biggest mover. He's looking at the back of Marco Antonio Salgado, trying to get the 11th spot. But Seb Tixier here, he's up 29 positions. We can start calling him Mick out there.
Yeah, Mick Light or something. I don't know. Oh, nearly gets into the back of Salgado there. He is fast today. 29 gained from the beginning of this race. Yes, he didn't qualify, but at a track where it's difficult to pass, he is certainly not letting that hold him back. Train of cars behind him with David Rossi, Spickett, Ridley, and Ho.
See what he can do here. He's got a fantastic run. Headed down into the spoon curve. Got to be careful. Oh, so close to the back end to that gearbox. Looking down to the inside. He is going to be later on the brakes than Salgado. Move Seb Tixier up into the 11th spot. That is up 30 positions now.
To get to the top 10, he'll have to catch Steve Morris by 4.5 seconds. So I'm not sure that's going to be doable, but we'll keep an eye on it. Unfortunately, from what I understand, if I read correctly earlier, it's going to be too late at night for Seb to take part in the charity race, which is a real shame. I really want to see him get to race in those races with that cutout on. Oh, look at that tight battle behind them. That was Ridley and Rossi, and I think Ridley overtook him down into the chicane.
And the name that we aren't necessarily too familiar with here in the 49s, more in the 79s, Jack David Spickett inserted himself into the middle of that one. He's another big mover, up 19 spots from his qualifying.
Often we'll just refer to him as good old JDS. So up to 13th here and trying to see if he can follow through with Seb Tixier. But now that Tixier has gotten past the train, it'll be a little bit harder for Spickett to try and follow him up to the front. We're down to 3 laps left to go, and it has definitely separated up at the front. Train grade's about 6/10 ahead of Gaspar, and they're a 1.5 seconds ahead of Nieva. So this is really where the action is.
You see Kyle Ridley, he's in that orange number 2 car. I'm sorry, yeah, the orangish yellow number 2 car. He's really the one applying the pressure to JDS, but JDS with a nice run out of Degner number 2. You're right. I think that this is the best battle on the racetrack. I want to keep it right here, but I do want to give a shout out because I've mentioned so many of the F2 drivers today. A lot of the F2 championship contenders not having the best day, but the one capitalizing on it is our F2 points championship leader, Steve Morris, up inside the top 10.
Stratuza, a lapped car that was letting them go, so that wasn't for position. Oh. The more I watch this onboard for Kyle, the more that I am scared because the car has not looked comfortable for him.
No, but you know what? I see Kyle over here, Australia, New Zealand chapter, and I know that these boys love drifting. Oh, there's a pass from JDS into 130R. It's going to open the door here for Kyle Ridley. Is he going to look down the inside? No, still side by side right in front of him between Salgado and Spickett. See if Kyle Ridley can capitalize, but it really is David Rossi now looking to go side by side.
Jack with a serious move into 130R. That was phenomenal. And now Salgado has got the pressure from Ridley, who's going to look down to the inside of turn 1, but he can't quite get the overlap.
Still poking the nose down to the inside, trying to get the run off of the corner. Not many places you can go to the driver's right, entering the snake.
They weave their way through Salgado's going to have to try and hold his line. It's hard to pass here, so as long as he doesn't make an ill-fated move, he should be able to hold them off.
I think it's only a matter of time until Kyle Ridley is able to get a nose inside. Trying all sorts of over-under crossover moves to try to get the drive off of the corner. See what he can do coming out of Degner number 2. Look at the drive off and a big wiggle from Salgado right in front of him side by side before we even get to the hairpin. Problem is Kyle's on the wrong side of the racetrack.
But he might have an easier time opening up his hands and getting the power down quicker. He does. That's going to allow him to stay side by side all the way through 100R, and he has 2 wheels in the grass, and he finally gets it done.
And here comes David Rossi. He's going to look now to the inside of Salgado through Spoon Curve. Unfortunately for Salgado, it just seems like he can't stop the bleeding.
Off of Spoon once again, and Ridley still trying to make up for what is a very dancy car. Meanwhile, white flag is out, and Hisada leads by a massive 13.4 seconds over Sanchez. He continues to drop him. Sanchez just needs to stay ahead for this final lap. He's got about 2 seconds back to train grade.
Kyle Ridley actually with a very poor run out of the Casio triangle, but Zach is able to get up through the gears, kind of holds off Salgado now, but wouldn't be surprised if Salgado makes a look down into turn 1. He's showing the nose, decides to back out of it. But I was going to say, I know we're on our final lap. Oh, there goes Kyle Ridley off Joe, just as you were about to say.
Unfortunate. That's going to cost him a number of positions. He's down to 16th. With so many close behind, they streak by. Salgado now leads. Rossi leads Ho. But up at the front, Gaspar is catching back up to train grade. I don't think the battle for the podium is over.
No, I don't think so, but it's only going to be one opportunity, maybe 2. I don't think he's close enough at all going into Spoon, so it's either 130R or the triangle. Oh, problem! Holy smokes, train grade just lost it!
Oh, no. So there it goes. He unfortunately is known for not being prone or not being void of mistakes. And wow, okay, that's a strange one. Have not seen many cars touch grass around the outside of that corner and lose control. But we got to go to our leader because he is going to close it up and get his 3rd win of the season, responding as he takes win on home soil in the number 3 here at Suzuka.
Looks like Xavier Sanchez is going to follow the hometown hero home in 2nd place, 14 seconds behind the lead. And then look at this, Nacho Gaspar, after the early mistake, finds himself on the podium.
Wow, Nacho doing just an amazing job recovering in that race. You have to wonder what could have been, though, as train grade gonna celebrate with some breakdancing moves, it appears.
Oh man, that is a classic case of being frustrated with yourself. Cross the line and smash the car to pieces. At least you don't have to pay for it and the crew doesn't have to fix it.
Yep, exactly. The beauty of sim racing. In the background, that's Salgado leading a whole bunch of cars across to take 13th, but ahead of him, Spickett was 20 positions up in 12th, and Tixier up 30 for 11th. Didn't see a whole lot of cars lapped, but what we did see was a lot of attrition. I believe somewhere in the realm of about 10 cars finding themselves DNFing today, as Bjorn Ackerman among the last few crossing the line. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Suzuka, and doing his countrymen proud, Togo Hisada has managed to take a win here at Suzuka. We knew it was going to be important to him, and he made sure that he did not trip up. He won by 14 and a half seconds, but you have to remember that Sanchez at one point had an accident and hit the wall. So up until about halfway through this race, it was looking like it was going to be much closer. Unfortunately, Sanchez was the one that faltered. He still took home second, though. And Nacho Gaspar, he is the one that deserves a pat on the back, spun the car, came back, and finished on the podium in some very fierce competition. Jorge Nieva couldn't hold him behind. He finished fourth, as Ove Trangrade also slipped up near the end and wound up just with a top five. I'm sure he was a little frustrated with himself on that one. Laust Olsen was P6, and Ben Zocco, quietly, we didn't cover this, climbed 5 spots to finish 7th. John Olsen was P8, and Joan Rodriguez 9th, with Steve Morse rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, we have our biggest mover of the race. Started in 41st, finishes 11th, up 30 positions, Seb Tixier. Jack David Spigot also with a fantastic run, up 20 positions to finish 12th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado finishes 13th after moving up a few spots as well. David Rossi in 14th. Gary Ho comes home with a top 15 finish. Kyle Ridley, after a few mistakes, falls down a handful of positions to finish in 16th after those late race battles. Matthew Maudsley in 17th. Robert Plumley in 18th. Seamus Power 19th. And Shunsuke Tashima in 20th.
21st goes to Michael Grissinger with Jason Clapper on his traditional climb up 12 spots. Definitely really eclipsed by Tixier here today, as Bjorn Ackerman was 23rd and Thomas Tuba 24th. Ryan Freeman gets the quarter century mark with Terry Traumhauser behind him at 26th. Sandeep Banerjee wound up 27th, and Shady Ahmad in at 28th. And it was Isan Gin in the 29th spot, and Mats Linden 30th. One other car on the lead lap in Andrew Ang. Everybody else was either a lap down or a DNF today, unfortunately. And it looks like we do have Togo Hisada ready to talk with us. And Togo, I have to imagine this one was the one you wanted the most all season long. Home soil, and you won. How you feeling?
It feels amazing. Yeah, I did was the wins twice in the the before. Yeah, the ones the battle with the Topi Kotniemi on the last lap and crashed in the last lane, and the other one is spun in the middle of the race and recover from 17th. And then finally I got the win this home track. So this feels fantastic.
Now, have you actually gotten to go to the real track, either to see racing or go to the amusement park? I got to imagine this is quite a destination.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually I'm living the Aichi Prefecture, so the really near. I think that took me the 1 hour by the car. Yeah, so the late close. I went to Suzuka a couple of times and see the real racing. Yeah, so it's my home track. So.
Oh, just fantastic stuff. I'm sure this was incredibly special. Looks like Sanchez slipped up. Did you feel the pressure from him early in the race, or did you feel confident that you could hold him back even if he was not far behind?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the Javier, but the first 5 or 6 laps, I'm so sweaty because I have confidence to win this one. So I have a pace under the qualifying. Yeah, I failed, but I took the pole position. So I think I will easily run out of the other guys. So the Javier is catching me with I think today it's not strong stream, so he's really fast today. So I'm really sweaty.
Well, again, congratulations. Certainly put a smile on my face watching you race today. And hopefully we'll see you continue this good form next race.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not time to. No, I can't join the next data replay, so I lost one. But the after one, which is I think oh man, eh, next of Detroit is I think
Catalunya, so
yeah
Spain.
Catalonia. So yeah, so the prepare for the Catalonia.
All
And
right.
today racing with big college race big race, so I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, we're looking forward to seeing you in that as well. So that was Togo Hisada, who's apparently going to be back for his rival's home race. So that should be fun. Our winner, Togo Hisada. Now we have Laus Olsen, who finds himself in sixth today. Joey's caught up with him.
Laos, congratulations on the sixth place finish, moving up a couple spots here today.
Yeah, thank you. It was, especially the beginning was a good race for me. In the middle, I made a couple of many too big mistakes and lost contact to those in front, and also let Ben catch up to me. So the last couple of laps were quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it seemed like you had Nacho Gaspar coming up, and you were also trying to catch Ove Trengrade in that battle in front of you. Talk to me, though, about the racetrack itself. This usually is a driver's favorite racetrack. How do you feel about this place?
I like it. It's a good challenge and all quite difficult to master, especially in this car here. And it feels a little slippery also. I felt I was sliding around a lot, so perhaps I was just overdriving a bit, but made it quite difficult and slid off the track a couple of times. So it's definitely a great challenge.
I think that's the best way to view it. Is it's incredibly technical, and that makes it a huge challenge to climb for sure. But you were able to do that up 2 spots today. Looking forward towards Detroit, it looks like, is next. How are you feeling going in there? You mentioned you spun off the track. It's all concrete walls over on that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love driving Detroit. It's a great track to drive, but tend to get too close to the wall and damage the car. So I don't have that good a success rate there. So it's going to be another challenge for sure.
Well, Laos, like I said, a great run today. Up 2 positions. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
To the Lotus 49 community, it's a great place to race, and also to you guys for the great podcast you do.
Well, thank you very much. That was Laus Olsen, up 2 spots to finish today in 6th.
And finally, we're going to be talking to Seb Tixier, just shy of the top 10, but I don't think he's too concerned about that. 30 positions here. So we've got him once again as Mick Lights. Seb, thanks for this awesome setup you've got. Talk to us about the race.
Yeah, it was good fun. I have to be very cautious because the track was very slippery and the guy in front of me didn't start it. So yeah, I tried to be super cautious. I want to apologize to Robert Plambert. I misjudged the distance in front of me, and I killed him with a bit of netcode also. Yeah, but totally my fault. But yeah, it was good fun. I was representing Mick today because he's not here. I don't have a barbecue. I'm very sad, but yeah, a lot of fun. I had some fight with Kyle. It was, yeah, really fun.
I'm sure Mick, even without the barbecue, is laughing his butt off right now looking at this. I mean, where did you get the idea to do the cutout of his head? Because it looks fantastic.
Actually, it's just that I'm working from home, so I thought I would buy a printer to because it's useful, and I was like, what I can try to print, and somehow I found out it could be funny to because I knew Mick was not going to race, so I thought like, yes, put my Mick on my face to give me luck, and yeah, it worked out.
It worked out fantastically. One more before we got to let you go. I have a request from Joey Atterbury. Can you do your best Mick impression?
Oh no, Joe. I like tea. I like tea very much.
I don't know. I can't do accent. Sorry.
No, that was. I think you made our day right there, Seb.
That was perfect.
That was amazing. Seb, thank you so much for all the laughs and the great action on track. We'll hopefully get to talk to you soon. That was Seb Tixier, who finished 11th today, and we're going to wrap this one up because we got to hop over very quickly to our next race. We'll talk about that in a moment, but thank you to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us on for another season of coverage, and thanks to the team today, Bobbert, Joey, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next race for this series, as was mentioned, is Detroit, Saturday, August 19th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, because up next, it's the Mick charity races at VIR and Okayama, both in the Campbell cars and the Lotus cars. And that will be at 10:45 p.m. Eastern, so 10 minutes from now. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.